Howdy, I'm the Chinese Zodiac Killer, and I recently had an interaction with law enforcement from the Jefferson County Police Department in Watertown, New York. Was it unlawful? Since 2017, my ex-girl and I have remained close friends, and around 10 p.m. on December 27th, 2025, she called me in distress, crying and asking for me to come get her where she was alone on the street in the freezing winter weather. I immediately drove 40 minutes to find her nearly freezing to death and took her back to my house as she requested. She then stayed for the next few days, and we decided to get back together and celebrate New Year's Eve. Unfortunately, in the process, she had lost her cell phone and delayed in calling her parents during this time to touch base. This resulted in me receiving a phone call by an investigator while I was driving at work because her parents had reported her as missing, and her last phone calls were traced to my number. He said she was missing. He strongly recommended I contribute any information that could help them find her. Now, of course, I know better than to contribute to my own investigation by divulging information to law enforcement. However, neither myself or my ex had done anything illegal. This entire affair only generated because she had the misfortune of losing her phone and lost contact with her parents for a few days. That being said, I felt it would have been more problematic for me to refuse to cooperate with the investigator, especially since I was arrested in 2022 as the Chinese Zodiac Killer, despite only being a horror author, activist, and something like a whistleblower, which is another story that you can find on my channel here. But point of fact, I understood that he was likely suspicious of me, and so explaining what had happened and that she was safe and well in my house was probably the least problematic decision I could make to dispel the mystery of what happened to her and help them close the case and get them off my back. Had I been stubborn, I would suspect it would have negative consequences for me, right? So the investigator seemed pleased that he was able to proceed with closing the investigation and asked for my address simply for officers to contact her, and in his words, to put eyes on her and confirm that she was okay, safe and well. And I had no problem with this. And at some point in the conversation, though, I was instructed not to contact her before officers spoke to her. That's kind of fucked up. So later in the day, I called back to ask if there's anything else he needed from me and if she was still at my house. He then explained that she was not and that she had requested to be taken to the hospital. But he would not tell me why. This obviously worried me because I care about her and that I had not known that she needed any medical treatment and that she had not given me any indication of this. So I immediately drove to the emergency room at Samaritan Medical Center in Watertown and found that she had been admitted to the psych ward. I was fortunately able to visit her immediately to get the details from her, for which she then told me that she did not want to go to the hospital, but that the cops had forced her to go. This means either she lied to me, or the investigator lied to me, or his officers lied to him. Now, obviously, I know she didn't lie to me. Somebody in the police department's a bullshitter. Her being naive of the manipulative and coercive tactics that law enforcement sometimes use contributed to her own investigation by answering their intrusive questions and whatever seemingly innocent comment she made at some point about her own mental state as to why she had called me when she was so distressed was exploited by these officers as an excuse to then commit her to a mental health ward against her will. Now, as somebody who has known her for 7.5 years, I had seen no indication of any red flags with her mental health or behavior. And then when she had called me, she had simply been upset, freezing, and asking for my help. At this point in talking to her, she had not been evaluated and was told it would be several days before released. And what makes me even more furious is that in her naivety and inexperience with the manipulative tactics used by law enforcement sometimes, when she answered my door to my house, when the officers asked her if they could come inside my house to talk to her, she said, okay. And then despite knowing that it was not her house and that it was my house and she was simply a visitor with no search warrant or permission for me to enter my house, these officers then did enter my home and proceeded to walk through the entirety of it, including my bedroom, and across my white living room rug with their boots on. for doing nothing more than helping a woman in distress that asked for my help and then politely helping the investigator close their missing person case. My reward by the Jefferson County Police Department was for officers, whose identities I don't even know, to manipulate and coerce my girlfriend, to enter the entirety of my home without my permission and without a search warrant, invade my privacy, disrespect me, and then commit her to a psych ward at Samaritan Medical Center against her will, where our plans to celebrate our reunion and ring in 2026 together on New Year's Eve were ruined. I visited her yesterday and she told me that she requested an iron supplement for her anemia from staff at Samaritan and was told she couldn't have it unless she bargained with them and took their antipsychotic medication as part of the deal, which she did to get her iron. Otherwise, she seemed well enough. Now, look, I don't hate cops. They have a job to do like everyone else. There's some pretty good cops out there, and there's some pretty bad cops out there. Are there cops that are really great people and helpful? Of course there are. I know some of them. Are there also cops that are likely sociopathic, psychopathic, narcissistic, manipulative, unlawful, abusive, vengeful, petty, or any combination of these? You're damn straight there are. And I would think that law enforcement would want to continually boost their reputation with the public as ethical, humane, kind, and helpful officers who protect and serve the community. Whether these individuals realize it or not, by behaving in the manner that they did, they diminished the reputation of their department and instead created a negative impression for the Jefferson County Sheriff's Department, as consisting of officers who use unethical, unlawful, and immoral tactics to punish, abuse, and victimize innocent people. We didn't even commit any crimes. Her simply losing her phone and not communicating with anyone for a few days snowballed into this. And while they can argue that whatever she said justified their locking her in a psych ward, despite it likely being unjustified, there was no justification for entering my home without my permission or search warrant. To those who are skilled in law, was this legal? Knowing it was not her home but mine, and knowing she was a visitor, did they legally have the right to ask her for permission to enter my home, including my bedroom, without a search warrant or my permission? Even if they did, it was unethical, intrusive, and disrespectful, and an invasion of my privacy. And some of the statements by the investigator seem to be dishonest and untrue. So let's hear your thoughts in the comments. Make this go viral. I have more ability to spread information than perhaps some realize. I'm Jesse Bartlett, frontman of the international touring metal band Penetration, and writer and co-producer of the album Hell Wants More Souls, with Grammy-nominated and legendary guitarist, engineer, and producer Andy LaRocque of King Diamond, including the song Metalhead's Forever, which at the time of its release was adopted as the anthem for what then was the largest online heavy metal community in the world, and features a guest guitar solo from Andy LaRocque. So check this song out on YouTube by searching Penetration Metalhead's Forever and leave a comment. I'm also the author of Necronomicon MMXX on Amazon Books under my pen name, A. Crowley, consisting of documented and dated experiences with the occult, sorcery, and even including physical contact with non-human entities. The government labeled me as the Chinese Zodiac Killer for the publicity stunt I engineered of mailing chapters of my next horror publication out to get my story told with mass media coverage in the most efficient manner possible. But this part of the narrative appears to have been covered up, and my character was assassinated, in my opinion. To that, I say this: bad publicity is still good publicity, and this story had a massive publicity to exploit. So check out my videos, content, stay tuned for more, and don't touch that dial. Make this go viral. Happy New Year's.